Well, I think the main difference is that with much of the industry that provides learning resources for children of all ages and linguistic groups, much of what had originally been provided for a fee or for some kind of cost is now being provided for free, and it's being provided in a way that it can be consumed online, in an online environment. And for children who are 9 or 10 or 11 years old, that actually works reasonably well, to online learning in front of a computer with a teacher. But for 3 and 4-year-olds, it doesn't work. A 4-year-old is only going to stay in front of a computer for so many minutes. And so the trick is how to keep kids engaged in learning when they are not under the care of a teacher in a classroom or in a daycare center. And so we are trying to take the resources that we would normally provide on a contract basis, let's say with the school system, and instead deliver them in ways that can be used directly by parents in the homes for no cost. That we began a series of Facebook live streaming sessions with some of our advisors, specifically Dr. Mariana Diaz-Vionchek, who is an expert in linguistic and cultural aspects of how young families, particularly young Hispanic families, watch TV and engage in digital resources. And she's very good at talking about how to support bilingualism, keeping both Spanish and English alive and well in the home. And then the other is Dr. Lorea Martinez, based in San Francisco, who is an expert in social and emotional learning. And the challenges that parents are facing being cooped up with their children at home right now, 24/7, and how to, keep things light and happy and, deal with the inevitable, turbulence that comes. Those are the topics that she's able to speak about from deep academic knowledge, but also from just being a practitioner with teachers and parents day to day around the country. And we are getting, hundreds of people tuning in to those events. We are also, taking the content that comes out of those events and pushing them out to much broader audiences. We have about 10,000 followers from Instagram and Facebook for HITN Learning. We have a network of influencers who are promoting what we do through their various audiences. And then through our sister organization at HITN TV, which manages the Vida y Salud network of roughly 500,000 people around Latin America, of which 100,000 are in the United States. We are pushing out the message and the content to those families as well. So we have a pretty broad reach, and we're getting very good reactions from the parents to what we're doing. In fact, tomorrow, this is one of our most esteemed but not Hispanic advisors. His name is Dr. Herb Ginsberg. He's a professor emeritus at Columbia University's Teachers College and is a world-renowned expert in early math education. And much of what we developed with the Cleo and Coquin property, which I can talk more about in a minute, was a result of the research done by Dr. Ginsberg about how kids learn best in a media world of critical math concepts. And one of his most important pieces of advice is how to learn math from just simple books, storybooks that are around the house in English and Spanish. So the session that we have tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Time in the United States, but available throughout the world, will be Dr. Ginsberg talking about making fun learning of math through storybooks. Well, Eddie is, again, it's a product of our sister organization, HITN TV and Digital, and perhaps you know my colleague Guillermo Sierra. So he and I have equivalent responsibilities, his for the TV and digital side of kind of general entertainment and programming, and me for the more specifically learning resources. But we cooperate with each other on the two apps that we provide that are provide, I'd say, complementary experiences. The Eddie app provides a lot of high quality programming from around the world in Spanish, primarily for entertainment with some educational value. The app that we created featuring Cleo and Coquin, which is called the Cleo and Coquin Explore and Learn app, actually covers 4 very important math concepts that are needed for success in kindergarten, with counting, sorting, 3D shapes, flat shapes, and when you download the app for free, you have the ability to make an in-app purchase to get more games and content in each of those content areas. So I would say the two things are complement each other. They have 2 different kinds of distribution, but primarily for the Cleo and Coquin Explore and Learn app, anyone can go to the App Store or Google Play, download their version in iOS or Android, and then have an immediately fun learning experience with Cleo and Coquin, and then dig deeper with an in-app purchase in each of those content areas. Well, we have a long-term license with Anima, which is the unit in Madrid. It's a Spanish and Mexican company. Miguel Aldasoro is our main contact there. We are very happy with the fact that the YouTube audience for Cleo and Coquin worldwide continues to expand. And of course, it's doing very well on Netflix and Discovery Kids, and had its run on Televisa. We produced initially 3 $25 math learning kits called Cleo and Coquin Family Fun for math, in counting, sorting, and 3D shapes, those 3 content areas that correspond to what I described in the app. And actually, the kits have been something that had not only sold to consumers through Amazon and Barnes & Noble and the like, but also were under consideration by the New York City Department of Education for distribution to all of the 70,000 4-year-olds in their system, 1/3 of which are Hispanic and mostly have Spanish speaking. The provision of those kits was interrupted literally on the day we were to advance this deal. The chancellor of the school system had to address whether the schools were going to shut down because of coronavirus, and then of course everything paused. But we have some hope that will happen, that those kits will go into a larger number of preschools run by the New York City school system. Instead of developing new kits right now, what we've done to support the online learning mode that most children schools are in is to take elements of those kits and take the digital files for the storybooks, in particular, for some content from the Parents Guide, from some of the games, and to create a kind of like digital mini packages, which we call Cleo and Coquin Play and Learn packs. And we are working with daycares and other organizations around the country to deliver those resources in a digital form along with the app to those households. So, when the schools went into lockdown, the nation's leading educational technology association called SIIA EdTech, it's Software and Information Industry Association in Washington, D.C. I'm on the board of that association, and it worked with the White House to develop a new website called techforlearners.org, techforlearners.org, which was a which quickly pulled together information on some of the best options for online learning around the country as parents or schools started to make this transition to having kids learning at home. And HITN Learning, which has only been around for a couple of years as a unit with an actual product line, was able to feature its Cleo and Coquine Explore and Learn app in one of those sections of techforlearners.org, sponsored by the White House. So we're getting a lot of interest from that kind of seal of approval, if you will. And it's helped us as we talk with major school systems around the country who don't know a lot about HITN Learning, why they may want to work with us. Well, we'd love to have a crystal ball and know what's going to happen with the world's recovery from COVID-19, but since we do not have that, we're simply trying to be ready to support parents and institutions in any way we can as they continue to operate online with the children at home and preparing for the moment that the children are able to return to some kind of center or school site. I have to say that the United States is a little unusual. It's kind of not as advanced as many countries around the world. It does not offer state-funded public school to all 3- and 4-year-olds. I would say only about half of the 3- and 4-year-olds in this country have access to state-funded preschool. The other half are they're at daycares that are supported by charitable organizations or that the parents are paying privately for the preschool. And all of these entities are having trouble knowing how to be relevant to the kids that they serve, because they can't have the kids on site. And of the two situations, the school-based and the non-school-based are even more vulnerable because the funding for those is not being restored, is not being supplemented by the federal government. Most of the attention is on the schools, the public schools, but the other half of the, say, roughly 3 million Hispanic 3- and 4-year-olds in the U.S. don't have that kind of funding, and their daycares may actually disappear. They may not be able to survive. So we're simply trying to do two things. We're trying to find a formula that helps children with parents do things at home for as long as they're going to be at home. And we're trying to be ready for the time when schools and daycares resume operations on site, which will probably be a mix of online and things happening in the home, in the school or at the site. And you'll have to check with us in about 3 to 6 months to see what kind of solutions we've come up with to fit that changing environment. But certainly in the meantime, we are going to continue these live stream sessions that we're running every 2 weeks, like the one tomorrow at 5 p.m. with Dr. Ginsberg. Lorea Martinez and Mariana will be making more appearances. We have one scheduled from Dina Castro, who is a Peruvian who's been at the University of North Texas the last few years. She's going to be focusing on how to keep learning in both languages, how to celebrate your Spanish. And that's one thing that we really want to encourage within all Hispanic households, that the people not abandon their Spanish language heritage, but to help kids be bilingual and be like most of the rest of the world, where you can take pride in being able to speak 2 or 3 languages and not be made to feel bad because you're speaking something other than English. So that's a big deal for us.